Okay, it's time now for beginners Hebrew language for year 3 students, trimester 3. And today we're going to be starting lesson number 25, entitled Absolute and Construct States of Words. Let us go to God in prayer. Father in heaven, we pray that you will be with us as we get into this new Hebrew lesson. I pray that you will give us an understanding heart, that we may grasp whatever new ideas are about to be taught. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So we're looking at absolute and construct states of words. More on that shortly. The general objectives for this lesson are, number 1, to examine the meaning of absolute. Number 2, to examine the meaning of construct. The specific objectives of this lesson are, 1, at the end of this lesson, the students will have defined absolute. 2, at the end of this lesson, the students will have defined construct. Number 3, at the end of this lesson, the students will have identified words that are in the absolute state. Number 4, at the end of this lesson, the students will have identified words that are in the construct state. Number 5, at the end of this lesson, the students will explain the changes in the vowel symbols that take place when words are in the construct state. I'm coming. Okay, first of all, let us look at the meaning of words in the absolute state. The word absolute. When a word does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. Let me give you some examples in English before we get into the Hebrew. The word church can stand by itself. And if there is no other word that is added to it to explain something more about the church, we say that the word church, the noun church, is in its absolute state. But if you were to add the words of Christ to the noun church, what has happened is that the word church is no longer standing by itself, but it is being described by the words of Christ. The words of Christ puts the noun church in the construct state, in that something more is being added or constructed or built to help us to know whose church it is. This is the church of Christ. Let me give you another example in English. Now, let us say that I see a pen in the year 3 classroom, and I just say the word pen, P-E-N. I just say the word pen. However, if I were to add to the word pen the words of Solin, so that it now is pen of Solin. Of Solin is describing whose pen it is. So pen is no longer in its absolute state. It's not standing by itself, because it is now put into its construct state that tells us whose pen it is. It is the pen of Solin. So when a word that is a noun, a naming word, does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. Now, here are examples in the Hebrew of words that are in the absolute state. Let me start with number one over here on the right. Who is a personal pronoun that means he. And ish is a noun that means a man. So who ish is he is a man. Now notice that there is nothing else that is added to ish to complete its meaning. That ish is not depending on another set of words to add to its meaning. And so since it is standing by itself, it is said to be in the absolute state. So ish, which means a man, is in its absolute state. Let me go back. The word absolute refers to a word that does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word. It is said to be in an absolute state. So the first example shows us what it means to be in an absolute state. Here is the noun ish, which means a man. There is nothing added to the word ish to tell us what kind of man he is, or what kind of work he does, or what kind of words he speaks. We're just told he is a man. So when you have a noun that stands by itself and there is nothing added to it to explain who this man is, or what kind of work he does, or what kind of words he speaks, etc., we say that the noun man, the Hebrew word ish, is in the absolute state. Here is a second example. He, isha. He is a personal pronoun that means she. And isha, which I've underlined, is our noun that is in its absolute state. He, isha, means in English, she is a woman. Now, because the woman, the noun woman, is standing by itself, and there are no additional words attached to the woman to explain what kind of woman she is, or whose woman she is, or what kind of work she does, we say that the word isha, the noun isha or woman, is in the absolute state. Third example of nouns that are in the absolute state is hu ak. Who is he? And ak is a noun that means a brother. So hu ak is he is a brother. We're not told whose brother he is or what kind of brother he is. We're just told he is a brother. Because the word brother stands by itself and there are no additional words that are added to brother to describe who he is or what he is, then we say that the noun brother, the Hebrew word ak, is in its absolute state. Fourth example, he akoth. He is a personal pronoun that means she, and akoth is the Hebrew word that means sister. She is a sister. He akoth. Sister is also in its absolute state. It is standing by itself. There are no additional words to describe whose sister she is or what kind of sister she is. And so going back, I'll soon come to you, Brother Solon.
Yes, sir.
Going back to the meaning of the word absolute, define words or nouns that are in their absolute state. When a word does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. Yes, go ahead, Brother Solon.
Yes, sir. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I understand what you are saying, but while you read over the previous slide, it seems like I'm confused a little bit. But let me say first what I was gonna say. For example, we were just looking at she is a sister. Now we were saying that the word sister is absolute because it does not have another word which describe what kind of sister it is. But if I talk about the pronoun she now, to my understanding, based on what you have said so far, I would say that the word she is not absolute because the word sister tells me something about she. So is it basically what we are saying?
All right. The words that I'm dealing with specifically are nouns. Nouns are naming words. So the word that I've underlined is the word that I'm using to illustrate nouns that are in their absolute state. I understand what you mean when you say that he, Akoth, which is she is a sister, is telling us something more about the pronoun she. And I understand the comparison you're making with the addition of another word to explain who she is. She is a sister. But we're not looking at the absolute state of pronouns or the construct state of pronouns. In this lesson, we are focusing on the absolute state of nouns and the construct state of nouns. So this is why I have underlined the particular word that is illustrating the absolute state of the noun. Ish, man, Isha, woman, Ak, brother, Akoth, sister. These are all nouns and they are standing by themselves. There's nothing added after the word woman or after the word man or after the word brother or after the word sister to describe who he is or who she is or who he is or who she is. Okay, so I understand what you're saying about the pronoun, that the woman is explaining something more about the pronoun, just like in Akoth, sister, is explaining something more about the pronoun. Yes, but I'm not dealing with the pronoun, but strictly speaking, I'm dealing with the nouns. So the particular words I'm dealing with are nouns. I'm not dealing with every single word, but just with nouns.
Yes, sir.
Nouns that are in the absolute state and nouns that are in the construct state.
Yes, sir. I understand, but I was using the example just to see if I understand when you are talking about when the noun is absolute or not. That's why I use the word she instead of the noun, just to make sure that I'm following.
Yes, yes.
So I wanted to know if the illustration that I'm using, in case it was unknown, if what I would have said was right.
Okay, we're going to be getting back to this shortly, but if there are any remaining questions later on, you can ask some more questions.
Okay, sir. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now let us look at an explanation of these examples that we have just seen. Specifically nouns, not every word, but nouns. Explanation of the examples of words or nouns in the absolute state. In number one, we had the noun ish. Ish stands by itself. No additional meaning is put onto ish to expand its meaning. In number two, the noun isha, which means woman, stands alone. Nothing more is said about isha to extend its meaning. Number three, ak is independent. It does not rely on another word to complete its meaning. Number four, akoth, which is sister, is not looking to another word to finish its meaning. So going back to the first slide here, absolute, when a word does not need, when a noun does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. So he is a man, but we're not told what man he is, what kind of man. We're not told what kind of work he does. We're just told he's a man. So the word stands by itself, it's independent. There's nothing more added to explain who the man is. So this is a noun in the absolute state. She's a woman. We're not told what kind of woman. We're not told what she's wearing. We're not told if she's married or if she's unmarried. We're just told she's a woman. Nothing is added to the word woman to explain anything about the woman. And so the word woman is in the absolute state. He's a brother. We're not told whose brother he is. We're not told what kind of brother he is. We're just told he's a brother. So brother has nothing added to it to explain anything. It stands by itself and is in an absolute state. She's a sister. We're not told whose sister she is. We're not told what kind of sister. The word stands by itself with nothing added to it. So when you have a noun in the Hebrew language that stands by itself without any further explanation of that noun, the noun is in the absolute state. One more time, when a word, sorry, does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. So that's the idea that I want you to get. We're now moving on to the second idea. Define words or nouns that are in the construct state. Now, when a word needs one or more words to complete its meaning, this word is in the construct state. Let me give you an illustration. Now, let us say that we intend to build on to the school building at Mona, where Brother Solin is. And we need concrete, that is cement. We need building blocks. We need steel. We need electrical wiring. We need plumbing. When we add on, let us say we're expanding the dormitory. When we add on, we see that we are constructing something new. We're adding on to what already is there. So in language, in this Hebrew language, if a word stands by itself, it's absolute. But if another word or if two other words are added on to that one word to give it some more meaning so that people may understand that noun better, that same word that was in the absolute state is now put into the construct state. So when you see the word construct, I want you to think of the word construction. I want you to think of building a building, adding on to what is there already. That's the idea. So starting again with the word construct. When a word needs one or more words to complete its meaning, this word is in the construct state. This is symbolized by a horizontal line called a makaf, placed to the upper left of the word so that this word is bound or tied to the other word which completes its meaning. The makaf followed by another word which completes the meaning of the first word should be translated as of, whatever word comes after the makaf. I'm going to give you an example shortly, but let me read this again. We're defining words that are in the construct state. When a word needs one or more words to complete its meaning, this same word is no longer in the absolute state because it's not standing by itself. This word is now in the construct state. So all these words that I showed you just now, all these words, whether it is ish, isha, ak, or akoth, that is, whether it is man, woman, brother, sister, these same words may also be in the construct state if you add one or more words to it. So that's what we're looking at now. If we build onto it, if we put something more to it than what was there originally, we are putting that very same word that was once in the absolute state into what is called the construct state. And you will recognize the construct state of that noun when you see that line drawn to the left side of the word and another word coming after that line, which tells you more about that noun. Once you see that, you know that the word is in the construct state. Let us look at examples of this. If I don't just have hu ish as what I had in a previous example of the absolute state, if I don't just have he is a man, but I have hu ish, then there is the makaf, which means binder or binding, that which connects or joins one word to another. And there is a noun coming after the horizontal line, the makaf. This is the noun Elohim, which means God. And the line that is drawn here means that you have to put the word of before the noun that comes after the line. So I have hu ish Elohim, not just hu ish, not just he is a man, but hu ish Elohim, he is a man of God. Well, this is now telling me more about the man. He's not just a man, but he's a man of God. He is a man that God has chosen. He's a man that God is speaking to. He's a prophet of God, or he's a holy man. He's obeying God in his life. These two words of God complete the meaning of the noun man. Now we know more about the man than before. He is not just a man, but he is a man of God. So when you have one or two words added to the noun, it puts the same noun that was in the absolute state into a new state called the construct state, often recognized by the noun being connected by a horizontal line to another noun. And this other noun, God, of God, is telling us what kind of relationship this man has with God. He is a man of God. So this is no longer in its absolute state. It is now in its construct state, because I have constructed two words and added them on to the original noun that was standing by itself. It's not just he is a man anymore, but he is a man of God. So man is now in its construct state. Here's another example. Number 2, he esheth ha'atham. He esheth ha'atham. And here in English writing, he esheth ha'atham. In English translation, here is the meaning. She is the wife of Adam. Now, it may also be translated as the woman of Adam, but we know from the account in Genesis that Adam was married to the woman that God made for him. So we translate it here, wife. And this is how woman looks when it is put in the construct state. The he that was here originally, the h that was here originally, changes to a thou, and you have the makeh for the binder, binding a sheth to the noun ha'atham, which is Adam, or it could be translated the man. She is the wife of the man. Okay, so here the noun esheth or isha is no longer in its absolute state, but the noun is in the construct state because some other words have been added on to the original noun that was here. So this same noun that was in the absolute state, when it has other words added to it, it is now said to be in the construct state. She is the wife of Adam, or she is the wife of the man. Here's another example of nouns in the construct state. Hu aki dawith. Now, who is he? And aki is how the word ak, which means brother, is spelt when it is in the construct state. Because the accent has left aki, or has left the word ak, and has gone on to the other word, dawith, we find that there has to be a change of the vowel. So it's no longer kames, as was in the case with when the word ak was standing by itself. It is now katef pathak, which is horrid pathak, a composite shua, to indicate that this is a half vowel, and we are not going to dwell long here, but rush on to the other word. Aki Dawith. He is a brother of David. So now we're not only looking at he is a brother. When he was just spoken of as a brother, without any further additional explanation, the noun brother was in its absolute state. But when the words of David were added on by joining brother with David, then we find that brother became construct. It became a noun in the construct state. and it had to change its form because of the movement of the accent from this one syllable word ak to the noun that follows the makef. He is a brother of David. Here is another example. He akoth Dawith, translated as she is a sister of David. Well, now we find akoth does not stand by itself. She's not simply a sister, but something more is added to tell us more about who this woman is. She's a sister of David. So sister, akoth, is now is not in its absolute state. It's not standing by itself, because there are other words that are added to it to describe the relationship between this person and David. She's a sister of David. Now, the same thing applies here as I spoke about. Let me just point that out to you. Let's look at this. Yes, this is the same word akoth we're looking at, but because the accent moves from akoth to the noun Dawith, this has to be put in its construct state. This changes from being a vowel to being a half vowel, as we see here. As we see here, this is a katev patak, a horrid patak, a composite shiwa, a half vowel, because we're hurrying to get from this noun to that other noun that explains more about the noun. So it puts akoth into a different form from what was there earlier. Earlier, when the word was standing by itself, it had a kames, an ah, but now it simply has a short ah, because we're hurrying from akoth to get to Dawith, where the accent has been moved. So there's a change in form, and this is akoth in its construct state. So it doesn't stand by itself anymore. This binder joins the noun akoth to the noun Dawith and tells us about the relationship of this sister to that of David. She's a sister of David. So going back to these examples, ish has become construct. When it was by itself, like over here, when it was simply hu ish, he is a man, and there were no further words added to explain what kind of man he is, then this noun was in its absolute state. The same thing with Isha. She's a woman, he, Isha. When it was standing by itself, independent of any other explanation, and was not depending on any additional words to say something more about her. It was in its absolute state, but it changed when other words were added to explain who she is. And the same thing with ak, brother, and akoth. When other words were added, these same words that were in the absolute state became now construct state. Hu ish Elohim, he's a man of God, not just he's a man, he's a man of God. He Esheth ha-Atham, she is the wife of Adam, or she is the wife of the man. Not just she is a woman, or she is the wife, but she is the wife of Adam. Same thing with Ak, not just brother, but Aki Dawith, brother of David. The same with sister, not just akoth, but akoth Dawith, she's a sister of David. So going back, let us look at construct again. When a word needs one or more words to complete its meaning, this word is in the construct state. This is symbolized by a horizontal line called a makaf, placed to the upper left of the word, so that this word is bound or tied to the other word, which completes its meaning. The makaf followed by another word, which completes the meaning of the first word, should be translated as of, whatever word comes after the makaf. Okay, now let us look further at this. First of all, ish, followed by the makaf, horizontal line to the left-hand side of ish, is translated man of. And the noun that comes after this line is put here. For example, Elohim, as in the example before, man of God. So you know that this is in the construct state when you see the noun and you see a horizontal line to the left. It's in the construct state because it doesn't stand by itself, but it is being joined or bound or tied or connected to another noun to explain the first noun, something more about the first noun. Number two, Asheth, wife of. Notice the makaf, the horizontal line to the left-hand side of Asheth. And notice that Isha changes to Asheth when the noun is in the construct state. Notice that the hirik, the short hirik, changes to the sire, the kames changes to the segol, and the hay changes to a thou when it's in the construct state. It's the same Isha, same woman or wife, but when it's put in the construct state, that is when there is a makaf to the left of it and another noun that comes after the makaf to tell us more about the first noun, then this has to be put into a different form that is derived from the original form, Isha. This is in the construct state. Number three, Aki, brother of. Notice that Ak changes to Aki. The kames changes to a katev, a patak, and you have a yoth and a dot under the keth. This is a long hirik. This is the form that Ak is in when it's in the construct state. Akoth, sister of. Notice that Akoth, which is spelled with the long vowel kames, which is A, becomes a half vowel, katef patak, when there is, let me go back. When there is a kames, so when there is a makaf added to it. So Akoth changes to Akoth in the construct. So look out for the makaf, the line that is to the left of the noun, that indicates that the noun has become construct because another word or other words are being added or constructed onto it. It is no longer standing by itself. It has something added on to it. Now let us look at a table that illustrates this further. We're looking at nouns in more detail. Okay, so we're dealing strictly with nouns, not pronouns, but nouns. So the absolute form of the noun, in this case, sus. This is how it is, the absolute state. It's in the singular, so we're just dealing with one horse, sus. But that same word, if you have some word or words added to it, is now in its construct state, and this is how it is. You have sus, and you have the makaf to the left of sus, and whatever other word that is added here to explain more about the first word, the first noun, horse of. Now you have the absolute state in the plural. The susim is the masculine plural of the masculine singular noun sus. And how do we have this in the construct state? The construct plural, you have suse. So instead of having the YIM ending, the im ending, there is the long sire ending. The long sire ending. So suse, horses off. Let's go to the feminine noun, susa, mare, which is a female horse. In the construct state, it is susat. So the kames under the samek changes to a pathak because you're hurrying to the next noun when the word is in the construct and something else is added to it, and you're hurrying to the next noun because the accent has been moved to the next noun. So this long vowel kames is changed to the corresponding short vowel pathak. And of course you have the makef joining it to another noun in the construct state. Now in the absolute state, in the plural, it is suso. This is the feminine plural, suso. This is the masculine plural, but this is the feminine plural, suso, mares or female horses. And if you want to put it in the construct state, mares off or female horses off, you would have suso followed by the makef. So in the simplest form of the noun, the feminine singular construct ends in pathak thao or ath, and the masculine plural ends in a, as we see here, ends in a, long sire. Okay, we're moving on with this table. We are looking at the absolute singular of another set of nouns. Here is the noun bain, which means sun. But if you're saying sun up, you're putting it in the construct state, the singular construct state. And because the accent is being moved from bain to the noun that follows the makef, then it means that there has to be a change of the long vowel sire to its corresponding short vowel segol. So you will have ben followed by the makef and the noun that comes after the makef, sana. Now the plural, which is in the absolute state, is banim, which means sons. But if you're putting it in the construct state, in the plural, it is bene. You don't use the kames now because you have moved the accent from banim to another word following the makef. So you have to hurry in your pronunciation. So you have a simple shua under the base, and instead of having the im ending, you have an a ending, bene, meaning sons up. Here is another noun. You have yath, which is in its absolute state when it stands by itself. However, if you have it in the construct, that is, you have the makef to the left of yath, and you're adding another noun to explain more about yath, hand off, then you have to change this long vowel, kames, a, to its corresponding short vowel form, pathak, which is a short a, yath. Here is an absolute noun in its plural, masculine plural, yathayim, hands. But if you're putting it in its construct state, you cannot hold on to the long a sound here. It has to be changed to a simple shua and with the long sire ending here, followed by the makif, hands up. Here are the explanations at the bottom. The changes in the construct singular from bain to ben in shortening, sire, long e, which is here, to segol, short e, or in the construct plural from benim to bene, takes place because the accent moves on to the word after the makif, and the first word before the makif is pronounced in a hurry. Also in the construct plural, the final mem drops out and it is replaced by long sire, the long e sound. Okay, we're continuing to look at other nouns. Here is the noun davar, which means word. And when it stands by itself, it's said to be in its absolute state. However, when another word or more words are added to davar, it moves into the construct state. And so the kames, the long ah sound that was here, is changed to a simple shiwa. And the other kames that was in the second syllable is changed to a corresponding short vowel. So the long ah changes to the short ah. And here you have the makif joining the word, the original noun, to another noun, which explains more about word. So it is word of. In the plural, in its absolute, this is masculine plural, you have devarim, words. And in the plural construct, you have divrei. Okay, so here is an explanation. You can't have two shiwas coming together. And so in that case, this simple shiwa changes to this short hirik. And this is the usual ending for the construct here, divrei. This is not pronounced because at the end of a closed syllable, then the simple shiwa is not pronounced. So it's divrei, words of. Another noun is kakam, wise, wise, meaning wise man. Kakam, wise man. Or this is more of an adjective, but it is an adjective being used as a noun. Kakam, wise man, in its absolute state. There's nothing added to kakam to explain more than what is said here, wise man. However, when you add makef and another noun following the makef, the kames, the long ah, changes to horrid pathak, horrid short ah. The kames under the second syllable, the long ah, changes to its corresponding short vowel pathak, short ah. And this is wise man of. In its plural form, in its absolute state, you have kakamim, wise men. And in the plural construct state, this hatef pathak becomes simply a pathak under the keth. And this kames changes to a simple shiwa. And the usual ending, the long sire, is right here at the end. So it's kakme, wise men of. So when a word has two syllables like the bar, and it is put in the construct state, two changes take place. One, var is shortened to bar with the pathak, and da is shortened to de. If the first letter of a word is a guttural, and the vowel under it is shortened, as in the case of kakam, it will be shortened to a composite shiwa. When the plural absolute devarim becomes construct, then varim becomes vere, resulting in devere, which in turn becomes divre, for two simple shuas cannot stand together, and therefore the simple shua in de becomes a short kirik or hirik. When the plural kakamim becomes construct, then kamim becomes keme, and the resulting kak keme becomes kakme, that is the composite shua becomes the corresponding short vowel. All right, this is a long lesson. I'm going to be starting at this point in our next class. What I want you to do when I send you the PowerPoint lesson is to study it, because it takes a lot of energy, brain power to understand this.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to begin at this point next week. I don't want to get you too lost, so you can study this lesson for your homework. We won't have a test next week. We will have the test whenever we have fully completed a lesson. Okay, so I'm not giving you a test. Just want you to study the lesson when I send it to you. All right, so we'll be starting at this point, that when the construct state is definite, it is the word after the McCabe that takes the definite article. I'll have more to say on that in next week's lesson. Any further questions on this? I know this is getting more difficult than before. Any further question?
No, sir. I would, as you said, watch over the YouTube video, the YouTube recording, and study the lesson.
Yes. Just in closing, the two most important concepts today are absolute and construct. So let me just read over the definition of both of them. As you can see on the screen, when a word does not need another word to add to its meaning or to complete its meaning, and it can stand by itself without having to depend on another word, it is said to be in an absolute state. Then the meaning of construct. When a word needs one or more words to complete its meaning, this word is in the construct state. This is symbolized by a horizontal line called a McCabe, placed to the upper left of the word, so that this word is bound or tied to the other word which completes its meaning. The McCabe followed by another word, which completes the meaning of the first word, should be translated as of, whatever word comes after the McCabe. Okay, so those are the two most important concepts in today's lesson: to examine the meaning of absolute, to examine the meaning of construct. So next week, I will finish the lesson and take any questions arising from your studies of it.
Okay, then.
All right. Take care.
Yes.